Hi, everyone. My name's Todd, and I'm your host for the Laundry List. I got Blake and Alex here. We're just going to make Alex sort of a co-host. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Blake, welcome. Glad you guys are here.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Beautiful day here in Scottsdale. God, it's busy in town.
It's very busy. Blake and I did some hot yoga, had a little breakfast, feeling grateful, feeling love. And even though during class we were pissed off that the instructor didn't heat the room enough.
First world problems.
I'm sure it was still hot.
I know, but it's amazing how if you can't get what you want, you know, you still get what you need. And I was still pissed off though, you know, because I was like, oh, really? You're going to open that again? And it's like, it kind of ruined my class because I was so focused on that instead of like being at one, which what yoga means, right? Just being at one with myself and others. But anyway, all right, we're glad you guys are here. And we got a kind of a special format today. We're going to read some pages from one of my new books I'm reading. And or maybe I'll have Alex read it. And then before we get started, let's read the laundry list, which is kind of stuff that we did when we were kids to survive in trauma and fear-based environments. And sometimes we carry with us to adulthood because they are old patterns. And then we'll read the promises, which is kind of the stuff we get when we just let go, do the work, and realize how incredible we really are. So, Blake, take it away.
All right. So 1, we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. 3, we were frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. 4, we either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality, such as a workaholic, to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5, we live life from the viewpoint of victims, and we're attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults, etc. 7, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we became addicted to excitement. 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. Denial. 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. 12, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment, will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience painful abandonment feelings, which we receive from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholic and took on the characteristics of that disease even though we did not pick up the drink. Para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
Good stuff, Blake.
So that's what we got, and then this is what we get. I gotta switch over. All right. So 1, we will discover our real identities by loving and accepting ourselves. 2, our self-esteem will increase as we give ourselves approval on a daily basis. 3, fear of authority figures and the need to people please will leave us. 4, our ability to share intimacy will grow inside us. 5, as we face our abandonment issues, we will be attracted by strengths and become more tolerant of weaknesses. 6, we will enjoy feeling stable, peaceful, and financially secure. 7, we will learn how to play and have fun in our lives. 8, we will choose to love people who can love and be responsible for themselves. 9, healthy boundaries and limits will become easier for us to set. 10, fears of failure and success will leave us as we intuitively make healthier choices. 11, with help from our ACA support group, we will slowly release our dysfunctional behaviors. 12, which is my favorite, gradually with our higher power's help, we will learn to expect the best and get it.
Good stuff, Blake. Great stuff. I always like hearing the fear-based list and then the love and freedom-based list. So that's awesome. So Alex and I have some teachers that we've been following for a while. And those teachers have referenced several books, really sort of based India and East Asia, going back hundreds and hundreds of years in some cases. And we've been reading some of these books. And, you know, some of our teachers are Wayne Dyer, Peter Crone, Anthony DeMello. Sister Shivani, and a lot of them actually reference these two books. So we're going to read a couple pages from the book, one at a time, and then we'll have like a little discussion, a little round robin. So Blake and I just have to make sure we pay attention so we know what the topic is. So Alex, if you can be so kind and also tell the listeners which book we're going to be reading from. So if they want to reference the book, they can look it up.
So we're going to be reading from the Tao Te Ching, which is ancient Chinese teachings. And basically the Tao is like referring to God or the universe. And it's sort of with these little proverbs, it's like teaching you like the way of life, the way of being one with God, being one with the universe. So I'm going to read one little excerpt and then we can sort of talk about what it means to us. Okay. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has but does not possess, acts but does not expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. And I really love this one because, it talks about how we always want to make things good, bad, right, wrong, beautiful, ugly. And it's like, but both things must exist together. Difficult and easy support each other. High and low depend on each other. Without the high, we can't have the low. Without the difficult, we can't have the easy. And so there's this balance. And to say that we, want to reject one but keep the other, it's impossible. And so therefore there's more suffering the more we try to reject that which we don't want rather than accepting all of it and understanding you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that passage too. And I could read that probably 50 times and it'll continue to have maybe a little bit of a different meaning to me. But, one of the things that comes up when I hear it, at least today, is that to God, which I am God lives inside of me, right? I'm eternal. That part of me that is eternal or God is indifferent to anything that happens in my life, is completely indifferent. There's no judgment, good or bad. That's impossible for my internal spirit and source to judge anything. So that part of me is just flowing with life and just feeling love. Now the ego, which is my body, right, is my conscious mind of, how to survive in this body, has this natural instinct to protect itself. That's why I don't run out in the middle of the road because I know I'm going to get hurt or killed, right? It's got a natural instinct to try to protect myself. But I think it doesn't know exactly, that fight or flight instinct is really good for basic survival instincts, but I think it also gets to the point where it could actually harm me in the response of living in fear in this body too much. In fact, on the way over here, I was listening to some podcast and they were talking how some people will always find the fear-based narrative in anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Oh my God, what a beautiful day it is.
We know guys like that.
What a beautiful day it is. Yeah, but you're going to get skin cancer. It's like, what? Look at those gorgeous waves. Yeah, but we can't go in there because the waves are too big. So it's like the narrative is always fear-based and look
at AI and all it's going to do for humanity. No, It's going to take everyone's jobs and we're going to all be jobless.
So,
right?
And when I heard that, I'm immediately thinking back to this reading is like, I have a choice of how I interpret information and data and experiences that come to me. You know, I have a choice.
And I think that's what happiness is regardless of what information is coming at you, it's your choice on how you interpret it.
Yeah. And don't judge it. Like I might be like I was the other day, I might be in a position where I'm just feeling a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, feeling sadness and feeling maybe a little bit of self-pity, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have to freak out and go, oh my God, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. I'm not supposed to be doing this, because that actually is making it worse, creating more shame
and then and then it spirals. But I mean, the thing that I really love about this and this last part where it says acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. I think this is all about being in the present. And, you know, she has, but doesn't possess, acts, but doesn't expect. And I think that the whole thing and like my mantra for 2024, and I've said it before, is get in the middle of the river and really stay. If you can stay, the more that you can stay in the present and not in the past or in the future, the more, and for me, the more the manifesting and the agents that are all around you are there to help you, people coming in your life, coming out. But if you're so worried about what happened in the past and you're so worried about what's going to happen in the future, you miss all the people that come about, you know, on our path, you know, cause I'm a big believer in that. People get put in places for times. Yeah. And like I had a girl that came into my life, and she's no longer in my life currently and recently. And I realized like that's my higher power teaching me something. And that's okay. And it doesn't need to last forever. And, you know, it can last for as long as that it was supposed to last.
And don't judge it. Don't shame yourself.
No, and it's like,
don't judge her.
Yeah, no.
Don't judge any of the experience.
It's all love, because
it's all supposed to happen.
Yeah, because if I'm judging her, I'm not loving her. I'm not loving myself.
Yeah, and all that's coming up from it, every feeling, every emotion, it's giving you a chance. It's a teacher. It's giving you a chance to look more inward. Like, oh, how interesting I had that reaction. Oh, how interesting this is coming up. Oh, how interesting. You know, it's like you get the opportunity. It doesn't always have to be like, okay, no, it's supposed to happen now, I'm going to let it go. But it's also like, wow, that really brought out that feeling. How interesting.
Because it says things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go.
Yes. So good.
And it's, you know, I think that's the magic is in the present.
Yeah. And I heard it, you know, once said, like, when I was listening also, to one of our teachers talked to a woman who was struggling with an illness. And he's like, well, if God is inside each one of us, you know, which I believe we all have, like that spiritual part of us where we are all connected with that part that is God. He's like, if God is living inside of you, can God be with this illness? Does God care if this illness is there or not? And specifically what she was dealing with was she, you know, believed to have had like mold poisoning and was obsessed with trying to get rid of this mold. And he's like, first of all, everybody has a little bit of mold inside of us. Like nobody's like that. We all have viruses, we all have mold, we all have bacteria, we all have stuff living inside of us. But it's the idea that it's wrong and that it can't be there. But if you're embodying God, can God be there with a little bit of mold? You know, and I think about that with me, with like a feeling, with an emotion, with a thought, with a part of my ego that's constantly on autoplay. Like, can God be with this? Like, of course, we got room for this. Yeah. Like, come on board. Like, we're going to keep on going, you know?
Yeah, and that just goes back to my point. Like the ego, which is to protect, you know, the body, the flesh, the human skin suit, sometimes can't decipher between getting hit by that car and having a little bit of mold. You know, it's like, it's like not rational, right?
Right. It's like, get rid of this. This isn't right. We can't live with this.
I mean, last night I read the first 3 pages of Genesis in the Bible. And I just love reading those first 3 pages because it says God created man to experience himself through the human flesh. And like, God doesn't care. God's eternal. Mm-hmm. We're eternal. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if we get mold and die or get hit by the car. It makes no difference.
Right.
We're eternal. We're going to continue for infinity.
Right.
But to the human flesh, the body, the skin suit, the ego, whatever you want to call it,
does everything it can to survive.
Will do everything it can to survive. And not only that, it will do everything in its power, like Peter Crone says, to be right. And that could be, I'm better than you, I'm richer than you, I'm better looking than you, or I'm a piece of shit, I don't deserve anything, no girl's going to go out with me. It could be either side of the coin.
And they're both as dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in this instance, like, for this girl, it was like the mold became this obsession of this isn't right. I can't be with this. And then like the more she thought about it, it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. Then, you become, more like almost even more sick because you're sitting there with like the tension and the stress and the dis-ease, and which causes more disease. So it's more like the solution is actually think less about it. Just be with it. Just allow it. Yeah. And either it's going to stay there, but you're moving on with your life, or the relaxation and the less you think about it allows it to just
or think about it, but have a different narrative. Like I always believe in self-talk. Like I talk to myself, okay, Todd, let's not completely freak out that I can't breathe through my sinuses and I'm going to go end my life because I can't breathe through my sinuses. So let's talk about it. Because if it was somebody else coming to me with that problem, I'd be like, really? You're actually freaking out about that? What is wrong with you? Mm-hmm. But when it's happening to me, I just can't see it because it's so real. The fear is so present.
Todd's favorite saying, and?
Yeah.
And?
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I got to get a third person perspective or have a narrative where I talk to myself or, sometimes I can talk to someone else and no matter what they tell me, I don't hear them because I'm just so busy in that, little kid that's scared inside of me,
I think like the best answer for that it's been working for me is like, can I be with this? It's like, oh, I don't have to get rid of it. I don't have to resolve it. I don't have to make that voice go away. It's like, all right, I can just be with it. And then it's like, okay, I don't need to worry about like, oh, this thought is causing me anxiety, so I need to get rid of this thought. It's like, all right, that thought's just going to be there. And it's going to maybe cause me some anxiety, but like, I can be with this. And that has been like a game changer. Because even with your nose, it's like, okay, if you feel like you can't breathe through it, but like, can you be with this? It's like,
at the time I couldn't. I was like full-fledged panic.
Whether you think you can or you can't, you are.
Yeah.
So it's either it's happening. So it's either happening while you're fighting it, or it's happening while you're not fighting it.
Either accept it and have some grace and freedom, or don't and be dragged. Yeah. But either way,
it's happening. It's happening regardless.
It's going.
You're with it regardless. So like, are we going to be with it with like surrender? Or are we going to be with it with going down fighting? Right.
Yeah. Well, that was a really good one. And then why don't we read some passages from the other book that a lot of our teachers reference. And why don't you explain to the listeners who this person is, when it was written, and what this book is titled?
Okay, so this book is called I Am That. I can't actually pronounce his name well, but it talks with Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Maharaj is the last name.
And he is an Indian spiritual teacher. And this book
back in what, like the 40s, I think? I think it was in the 40s.
Let's see. I probably should have known a little bit more about it.
I think he died in the 70s.
Yes, that sounds about right because this was written in the 70s. So. But basically it's interviews of him, people asking questions and him giving answers. And there was one particular
a lot of times we'll read a page in this at the house all the time, Blake, and she'll just tell me when to stop, and she'll just flip through and then stop, and then we'll read it, and it's like just so obviously so relevant, to what we are going through or thinking about.
So this part was like, I mean, when we read this, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So, it's a lot of back and forth, but I'm going to get to like the gist of it. So basically the questioner is asking Maharaj this question and then he'll answer. So the questioner says, still, the main point seems to escape me. I can admit that the world in which I live and move and have my being is of my own creation, a projection of myself, of my imagination. On the unknown world, the world as it is, the world of absolute matter, whatever this matter may be, The world of my own creation may be quite unlike the ultimate, the real world, just like the cinema screen is quite unlike the pictures projected onto it. Nevertheless, this absolute world exists quite independent of myself. And then Maharaj says, quite so, the world of absolute reality, onto which your mind has projected a world of relative unreality, is independent of yourself for the very simple reason that it is yourself. So basically, to break that down, the analogy is the world that each person experiences is only a reflection of themselves, much like when you go to the movies.
Well, back up. Even when you say expression of themselves, like even dig deeper, like expression of their thoughts, their opinions.
I'm going to explain it.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to explain it. Much like when you go to the movie theaters, you're looking up at a projector screen, right? And it's blank. It's black. And they're saying like, that's how the world is. But then you're watching, then the movie turns on and you're watching a film and you're seeing the people and and you think that the film is up there on the screen in front of you. But really it's coming from a light shining in the back, shining through a film, which is then projecting onto the screen. Much like for us, the light inside of us is shining through a film of a quote unquote movie that we have come to this world to experience, and it's projecting out into the world. So what we're seeing out into the world, we think we're experiencing. We think things are happening to us, like that we aren't creating what's happening, that we are reacting to what's happening. But really, everything is only a projection of our own self,
a reflection of
our own thoughts, of our own beliefs. And not only that, but we have created the movie. So this belief is that we came in, each person came into their body with the film already written. And we think that we're
predestined,
that we're watching it unfold and that there's a cause and effect and like, oh, I did this and so this happened. Oh, I did that and so this happened. But really, the movie of our life is already filmed, much like when you go to see a movie at a movie theater. The movie's already filmed. It's already done. The actors already have their roles. Everything's already played out, but you don't know the ending yet. And that's what's happening to us is our lives are already filmed. It's already done. Everything is predestined. Everything is already
It's such a good movie.
But the funny thing is the ego thinks it can control the movie and the ending. The ego's like, oh, no. I'm gonna change that ending. I don't like that ending. Cut. We're gonna change it.
Yeah. But like our roles are already done. Like the people that are gonna come into our life are already chosen, are already picked. The interactions are already. But because we don't have a memory of that, we think that we're experiencing everything for the first time and that it's brand new. But it's already written. The story's already written.
The fix is in.
Yeah.
But the fear of the ego is like, I'm not in control. Good. I don't have, I may not have the power. I'm the victim. I'm getting screwed here. Like another quote we heard the other day is, I have a choice in my life to be the host to eternal life and God and be the conduit for that host and eternal life, or I can be a hostage to the ego. So basically what it's saying to me is that quote is, I can either live from fear and control, which is the hostage to the ego, or I can live as the host of the eternal life or God, which to me means faith, freedom, peace, love, right? Yeah. So the choice is mine.
Yeah.
And then also too, then whatever happens, you understand like, oh, I set it up this way. Like this is part of the script, and it's like, there's constantly.
It's so funny you say that because I sometimes I'm like, I will say to myself, like, this will make a great scene in the movie.
Yeah. It'll make a great scene in the movie of The Life Called Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like we have amnesia. Like Plato says, we cross the river for forgetfulness as we our soul enters into a new human being. Yeah. And we forget who we truly are, and we forget the movie, he goes on to say. I mean, Plato lived, 1,000 years ago. So it's like we're talking about when the movie was written, the script was written, and we're living it to, play out things that we've been working on in past lives, to play out that those trials and tribulations that the ego wants to work out, right? Or the soul is choosing
wants to work out,
right?
And it chooses a specific ego based on the DNA and the genetics so that person can have those constraints that the soul came in to experience in that world. So
and there's no judgment. It's not like when we die and go back to source, there's like, oh, you fucked up. You fucked up, Todd. You should have done that, not that. No, there's none of that.
Because it's already been written.
Well, it's already written, but you know, even if you could say you can deviate from the script, there's no judgment because it's pure love. It's pure acceptance. It's pure freedom. Yeah. So it's impossible to have judgment and shame in the spirit world.
Well, and too, what we think is a big deal on this earth, sickness, death, you know, all these, you know, failure, quote unquote, poverty, like whatever it is that we here on earth look at as like, that's so sad or that's so tragic. When you leave this world, it's like playing a role. It's like playing a part. You like wake up from your script. You're like, oh, that was interesting. That was interesting playing that part. But like death is nothing because it's like, okay, you're just going to go back in and there'll be another body. Yeah. But death to the body, to the ego is real. It's catastrophic. Yeah. It's, you don't want to go there.
Because for me, I think to be truly happy in this life and, you know, you guys say this body, like you have to not be afraid of death.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like I have no fear of dying. I don't like, obviously I don't want it to be tomorrow, but if it is tomorrow, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, cause
and then there's like a freeness
so free.
To it. It's like, I could die tomorrow. So like, what am I worrying about? Things that are going to happen 2 months from now, 2 years from now, like 2 days from now. Like, what do I have to worry about?
I'll even go further and say it's like, I mean, I'm at the point where I'm kind of excited for it because it's such a euphoric, loving feeling. Like I gotten there through meditation and hypnotherapy and some of these psychedelic journeys I've done. And it is incredible. And it is so beautiful and peaceful, you know, and we can get there in this human life. Yeah. But we need to quiet the mind down to feel God.
And I feel like if you let go of the end result, because the end result's going to happen. And it doesn't matter if it's
not bad.
And it doesn't matter if it's tomorrow or if it's next week or 20 years from now. When you let go of that, that's where the happiness lies.
Well,
but being in the process.
It's the human condition and experience, at least in our culture and generation. Sure. You know, and maybe many generations, especially like in Judaism, where if someone dies, you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know how you're getting through this. Cover up the mirrors. We can't look at ourselves. We should be ashamed. We need to be mourning. You need to be sad. You're never going to get over this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yesterday I went to yoga with you and this, you know, woman that I know, who I've known for 25 years, and her kids were friends with Grayson and Bond. She gave me like the longest hug and she looked at me and she started getting teary-eyed and she's like, I'm so sorry. How are you doing? How are you okay? And she's already talked to me over the last year several times. So it's not like this is the first time. And I just like, I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness where, and again, it's people have a hard time relating to people that are mourning and going through grief. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to react. Yeah. So I'm not like saying she's a bad person at all.
No.
But I'm also saying it's how I interpret it. And I could be like, I should feel. My ego's like, yeah, Todd, let's feel sad. Let's feel self-pity. Let's have a shitty yoga class. Yeah. Where if someone else would have been like, boy, it seems like you're doing great. It seems like you're really in the moment. Yeah. You're really feeling life. You know, this experience probably gave you such a meaning for life. And, you know, could have framed it differently. It would have been like, oh, yeah. You know, so it's like people still have the ability to control a lot of other people on this earth.
And it's so, and it's so funny where in a different time, the reaction for somebody who said something is totally different. Like I remember you talking about like somebody said, you know, something like, you know, this too shall pass. Or something along those lines. Right. And you're like, how could you fucking say that?
Right.
Where now it's like, it's the opposite. You're like, somebody's like, how are you doing? You know, it's like, it's all time and perspective.
Yeah. Well, we could take that back to the whole perspective of everything that we're experiencing is only a projection of ourselves. So your own self is setting you up to continue to bring people into your life to show you where you're not free. So she's giving you a gift. She's showing you where you're still not free, where you still have this part of you that thinks you should be sad, you should feel terrible.
Guilt, shame,
and she's only presenting, she is a reflection of that part of you inside.
Yes.
And it's a gift. All the world is medicine. It's a gift. It's like, it's allowing you to then be like, hey, I appreciate your words of condolences, but like, I am okay. Everything is okay. It's, and that's where you get the opportunity to like reinforce, no, I don't believe that I'm in self-pity. I don't believe I'm a victim of this life. I don't believe that this is a tragic experience that I need to mourn over. Like, I have a different perspective of this, and of course, yes.
It's like your perspective doesn't define me.
Yeah. And so you get this opportunity, and every single time, and you had it again at that conference, every single time somebody comes up to you, and once it brings up that feeling again of like, sad, because you do have it in you, and that's okay.
Right.
It's totally normal.
There's no judgment about it.
There's no question I am in this body at this time to go through that experience. There's no question in my mind, and people are showing up to help me work on this piece of me that I want to move through.
Yes. And if you want to even like look at the gifts that you're receiving, is at this conference that you went to, where you were constantly like presented with men who were working with their sons, and you were having the self-pity. You said you went to the bathroom and the song is playing. Yeah,
I'm feeling a lot of sadness and self-pity and shame.
Wow.
And I'm going to cry. But the song came up, literally came up, and it said, the song was like quiet in the bathroom, and all of a sudden the song comes on. You can't always get what you want. And it was literally playing slow motion. Like you can't always, it was like Gray was playing me the song in a slow motion. And I was in the bathroom, and it was like him and I were so connected. And then right before I was ready to leave the bathroom, and then, but you get what you need was the last line before I left. It was like, you can't always get what you want, like 8 times. And then as I was leaving, it was, but you get what you need.
Yep. Yep.
And it was like, there's no coincidences. That wasn't
Absolutely.
a mistake. It was like, I'm supposed to hear that.
That reminder.
Yeah.
That reminder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So every time that there's something presented to us that we think it's that person trying to project something onto us, it's a part of us that's actually being reflected back into us and showing we still have that feeling within us.
Yeah. Read that one passage again that we just read. Do you have the book? Because now that we've discussed it, like I want our listeners to like hear this again and tell them what page it's on if they want to, go to the book.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if maybe there was another part that I could read because, there's a lot here.
That's some deep, and that's some deep stuff.
It is hard to comprehend.
If you're a listener out there and you're like, you gotta.
Well, that's why we have teachers that help us interpret this stuff.
For sure. Because it's like, before Alex explained it, I'm like, what are we talking about?
Right. Where's the part that he talks about the, okay. I was going to find the part where he talked about the reflection of the moon. But I don't remember exactly where that is. But do you want me to reread the passage that I just... Okay. So the questioner says, still the main point seems to escape me. I can admit that the world in which I live and move and have my being is of my own creation. A projection of myself, of my imagination on the unknown world, the world as it is, the world of absolute matter, whatever this matter may be. The world of my creation may be quite unlike the ultimate, the real world. So basically, the world, we don't even know what the real world is like because all we're experiencing is the world as the projection of our own selves, of what we want to see, of what we want to believe. So we don't even know like what the real world without the perception of the ego really is.
That's why the 8.5 billion people on this planet are all living in a different reality.
Absolutely. There is no really true reality because everybody has their own reality.
Correct.
There are people, that of course, like you're going to cross people that are like, oh, this world is so dark and everything's so terrible. But like, yeah, if you're watching the news all day long and you're scrolling through that, of course you're going to think that. And then there's some people that are scrolling, through it. Actually, Instagram's a great example of this because what you like is what you see. And that becomes your reality.
It's so funny. I watched this video.
The universe.
This video is
AI.
like the best way to check a guy, like is this girl, like the best way to check a guy and how he is click on his search page and see what pops up, like the algorithm from Instagram.
Yeah. And so let's take that. So, because basically AI is the intelligence of the universe in a computer, I believe. Like everything is only a reflection of the intelligence of the universe. And now we have AI, which is why some people are like, I can't, like I say something and then my phone hears me and then it pops up. But it's like, because it's freaking the intelligence of the universe, like in a computer, like it is so smart. And then like same thing, like with the Instagram, like the more things you search and you look at and you like, that is going to become your reality. Those are the things you're going to see. So yeah, if you're stuck on like news and chaos and death or what, of course you're going to think the world is like a dark, devious place. But I like no longer follow like any politics. I'm like done politics and like
I don't watch it, and I don't watch any
that
of the
has
news.
happened in me has been like I only follow things that are like inspiring and light and positive. And like, of course I pay attention to like things that are going on. Like I don't put my head in the sand, but it's also like, I don't cling to that, and like the shift that happens inside of me and my perspective of the world is so different. So like we can change our reality, like anytime we want
90% of my phone time is literally YouTube, which is spiritual content, or fidelity, or texting people or stuff. But like, it used to be just scrolling endlessly in the news and, just whatever, just like wasteless.
The only TV I ever get now is when I'm sitting in the office and it's MSNBC and it's some talking heads. But other than that, it's like.
Yeah. And then again, it's like, what's your perspective of that? Because some people pay attention to the news and they take everything in and they're like, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. Or they're like, they're trying to force you to do something. And it's like.
The news uses the best narrative that kind of brings it back full circle of the fear narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
they're professionals at using fear to sell their narrative.
Absolutely.
And in all news, not saying one side versus the other. I mean, that's the narrative of the news is the fear.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Social Security is going to run out. We're not going to have any money. And they've been saying that for 70 years.
Yeah. Keep them in with the fear. Exactly. And same with the climate change. Discussed for decades now, so it's like, all right, what are you going to follow?
But I find it entertaining. I've read books on Nostradamus and I have studied him. And there's actually some shows on the History Channel, the Nostradamus effect and Nostradamus, parables, whatever. And I actually enjoy it. And it's not like I get scared. For me, it's entertainment, and I just find it like entertaining.
Yeah. It's like almost like social experiment to watch.
The end result is like, yeah, of course the world's going to end. Of course we're all going to die. But that's not a bad thing.
We don't, I guess that we will all die one day, but like nobody knows what's
do we actually know that though?
Our bodies will.
But I mean, the way medicine's advancing, we don't know.
You mean like the human body can live forever?
Yeah. I feel like we can't make it live forever.
We don't know.
But that's an absolute. We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. Absolutely. And then then it's just like you can sit back and, watch the show when you aren't so concerned with the ending.
The Tao Te Ching says, we need do nothing. We need do nothing.
And that's so fun. That's a lot of times in the last couple months, that's the right answer is to do nothing. Somebody sends something and I want to jump down their throat or I want to, tell them how wrong they were to me or they shouldn't have said that. But really the right thing is just do nothing.
And that's an old AA adage, pause when agitated or doubtful.
For sure.
And always the right decision. You might have the same decision, but at least pause when agitated or doubtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that line that we read in the Tao Te Ching today at the end, when her work is done, she forgets it. So it's not to say you don't do anything, but it's like you do what you need to do and then you move on. You don't attach to the results.
That's how you stay.
Space.
You're not in the, we're out of the results business.
Not
we're
only
in
do
the
we
process
attach to the
business.
future result, but we also don't regret or lament our past decision and action.
Because the decision we made at the time was the best decision that we could have done in that given moment.
Well, it's not only the best decision. It was the decision.
It was the only decision.
No, I know, but I'm saying
we had a choice. The illusion is we have a choice.
The illusion of choice.
Well,
the
ego again thinks it's in control.
Yeah.
The ego thinks it is running the ship.
So it's like the script was already written that I was going to get divorced and I was going to do all this stuff.
Question.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be sitting on a plane
this life to deal with abandonment and deal with being alone.
With Todd on Southwest Airlines, and I'm crying and he's
well, the
trying to
original
make me
script was a
laugh.
private. The original script was a private jet, but the market was down that week. So But yes, I mean, we were all going through this. My divorce. Grayson. Having kids with Alex. Like all this has been written.
And it's such a great movie when you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, and then you can sit back and enjoy and understand that whatever unfolds, it's the way it's supposed to unfold.
It's supposed to be.
So yes, I can do my work. Like what steps do I need to take? But then I release the results. And if the results are that I never, have my own child, then that's the result. And I find peace and I find happiness in that. And there will be other avenues that I meant to take, and it will all make sense.
And then
in the end.
And it's so funny when you get a little bit away, so when you get further down in the movie, the previous scenes make a lot of sense.
A lot more sense.
And it's like the day I called you and said, I need help. I need you to come in and run core roofing. Like we're screwed. Like you're like, oh my God, what a coincidence. What a what's that word?
Serendipitous.
It was so serendipitous, but no, it was already
written.
But we think, oh my God, what a coincidence. How serendipitous.
Those coincidences and serendipitous moments though are like little signs from the universe.
Oh,
like
for sure.
It's actually happening for us, like it isn't a coincidence. It's exactly like what, like it's.
Yeah. I feel inspired right now.
Yeah. And then, so the other thing too, is this whole part of like, can I be with this? Like what the ego wants to do. And it reminds me of a Peter Crone quote where he says, past hurt informs future fear. So when we're not living in the acceptance of the now, all the ego is doing is remembering past hurts and trying to prevent them in the future. So how we're living is like, I don't want to relive that. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to refeel that. And that's living in the ego.
And I think that's a lot of the reasons why I use drugs and alcohol the way that I did.
Mm-hmm. The past hurts. And the future fear.
Fears.
I just went through that.
You just literally summed it up perfect.
Absolutely.
And I just went through that. Like Grayson passing on the ego and the past hurts created a situation experience where Bond went in the hospital and was sick. And I had to fix it and make sure he's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just went through that whole experience, and it's like past hurts are informing future fears instead of past hurts are showing me where I can let go and be free. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even this too, I think this is very common when you become a parent, and I'm not a parent yet, but I can only imagine past hurts in our own lives that we are trying to prevent our children from experiencing.
And that's part of the whole family dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like they're projecting their past traumas and their stuff onto their kids.
Yeah. And again, it's with the best intention trying to prevent them.
And there's no judgment.
There's no judgment on that.
Yeah.
But it is when you become awake and when you become conscious and you realize my child is going to have their own story and their own path. And yes, they have my DNA. So it might look very similar to mine. And I might do as much as I possibly can to try to prevent them from suffering, but they are going to have their path.
I remember when I was with my ex, we were contemplating having kids. And I was like, I got in my head that I would be selfish to have kids because there's a good chance because of genetics, they'll probably be an alcoholic too.
Well, you'll be giving that soul that needs to have that experience.
But here's the thing now, when I look at it, is like, if that's what's meant to be, that's 100% okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's going to happen. What do you say? It's going to happen exactly the way that it's supposed to happen because it happened that way.
Yeah. And whatever soul is coming into your life to be your child, you guys have an agreement already.
To experience that.
Yeah.
It's already been written. The script's already written.
Yeah.
And believe me, there are plenty of souls who need that role.
Yeah.
It's not like every soul that's coming into this world now is like, no, I don't want to touch alcohol, no drugs, no codependency. That's the shit we come into the human form to learn, to experience.
And remember, our children are only the mirror reflection of ourselves, which is why we're like replaying our own history on this child, because they're reflecting back to us the things we didn't accept about ourselves, the things we didn't like about ourselves, the things we do like about ourselves.
Things we resisted.
And so it's like, friends that come in our lives, parents, children, they're all reflections of things of our own self.
And it's
do we even really see other people? Or are we just seeing like,
I 100% agree with that.
You know?
Like you're a mirror. We're all mirrors for each other.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when with the mirroring effect, when you get in for me, when I get in a group of guys and they're going down some crazy tangent about fear-based, whatever, how it's like, almost like for a second, I'm like, oh, I need to get in on this too.
Yeah.
because yeah.
And then how about when you get in with a group of guys where they're all being silly and goofy and laughing, and it brings
best.
that childlike part out of
the
you.
6-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's why I love hanging out with Ross.
That's why I love, like one of my favorite things is riding in the golf cart with Ross and Todd and everybody in Laguna.
You're just big kids.
We're
it's like we're
8-year-old kids.
We're 8-year-olds rolling
silly
around with the fart machine and just having fun.
You know what? I feel like that's also a good 2024 golf. Be with the people who make you feel like a child. Who make you feel like a kid. Sure. As much as you can. Obviously, you have to be around other people, but it's like choose those people that make you feel like a kid, where you can laugh, where you can be silly, where you can relax.
For me, it's like I'll take you a step further, where I can be my authentic self, because that's what the 6-year-old and 8-year-old wants to be.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to be around people that I can be authentic around and be silly and walk into a coffee shop without a shirt on and no one cares.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm just being myself.
Yep. And even if people care, you're like, you get to a place where you're like, it doesn't matter if they care. You know?
And if somebody says to me, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Love it.
Good stuff. All right. Well, we are coming up on time. Again, if you want to come on the podcast or have a question, please email us at info@thelaundrylist.com. info@thelaundrylistpodcast.com. And please rate us, give us feedback wherever you watch your podcast. We are on YouTube. All the episodes are now downloaded on YouTube. This one will be out this coming Tuesday, so please look for it. And we hope you have a great week. Please be nice to my friend, and we love you. See you next week on The Laundry List.